Let's do it.
Before Twinkle Toes wakes up.
Test. See if I can sit up straight for this whole episode. My shoulders are killing.
Did you stretch?
No.
Episode legal age. In 3,
Legal drinking age.
2.
We had everything going against us.
Yeah, we were young, we were broke, we didn't know anything about business. We literally started from nothing.
We were never supposed to make it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back.
Hey, what's up, guys?
This is episode number 21
21
of Win Anyway. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for subscribing and commenting and, thumbs upping.
Yes.
And all that good stuff.
Sharing.
We read all your messages on YouTube, and we see the reviews on podcast and all the nice comments and direct messages and everything on Instagram. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate the support. It makes us happy to hear that this is helping you and that you're getting value from it, which is 100% the point.
Yeah, we're going to also be putting together that Zoom group. I'm going to have Ronnie and our assistant help us with that, just gathering all of you guys that left a review so that we can make sure we get that done.
Yeah, we see all the comments, so we appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
All right, so this is episode number 21, and we're talking about
how to build closers.
Yeah, so a lot of you guys have been asking, about, how do we duplicate independent leaders? Because a lot of you guys, obviously, the name of the game is building leaders, right?
Right.
And so if we're going to build leaders, we need them to get independent and as soon as possible, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely. That way you don't have to do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
That's the end goal.
Yeah, exactly. So we put together a few pointers for you, stuff that we do every single day. Every single time we have somebody new come on the team, we kind of put them through this system to help them grow and, get to their goals as soon as possible. So let's go ahead and jump right on in.
Yeah, let's dive into it. The main outcome, I think I remember when we were in the business and we were the only ones on our team that knew how to close anything. Mm-hmm. And I remember it like yesterday, and it's frustrating when you have to do it all by yourself.
Exhausting.
It's exhausting. It takes the fun out of it. It's fun in the beginning because you learn how to close, but then you realize that the best check and the favorite check that you'll ever receive is a check that you didn't have to do anything for.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But that never happens if you have nobody on your team that can close.
Yeah, so if you haven't made the decision to help develop independent leaders, now is the time to do it. Because one way of looking at it, which is, in my opinion, the wrong way, is like, I want to, be on everybody's appointments because I want to get split on everybody's appointments. And we've definitely seen that happen before, where you just look at people as appointment producers. And that's not the way you look at it, because long term, if you really want freedom over your own time, if you want really freedom of your finances, you got to do it this way.
Yeah, we've been in those spots too. I think everybody goes through those different phases of the business. Mm-hmm. Especially in the beginning. When you first learn how to close, it's fun to run everything yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're fired up to go put to work what you've mastered,
And obviously, you have the best shot at closing.
Yeah. Kobe said he didn't not pass because he wanted to be a ball hog. He said he didn't pass because he looked at the numbers and he knew if anyone was going to put the ball through the hoop, he had the best chance.
Right.
So he said, why the heck would I pass? So in the business, though, you start passing the ball, the game gets a lot of fun.
Yes. So how do you do that? How do you pass the ball?
Let's talk about it. Well, number one, someone starts with you in business, or they've been on your team for a while. It's possible that you have people that have been on your team for a long time, and they're still not independent, and they still can't close on their own. And so if that's the case, you got to tell them the game plan up front from day one. Tell them, hey, from here on out, we're going to go on a 14-day run where we run appointments, we chase, activity, but our main goal is to start getting you independent. Start putting you in a position where you could do this thing on your own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so really mapping it out for them, knowing, like he said, the next 14 days, what is it going to look like? So we're going to go on some training appointments, right? And you telling them what the goal of going on these training appointments is. So, for example, hey, so we're going to go on training appointments. The number one goal is for you to, of course, learn what it is you're doing so that you're competent, right? Also, we want your friends and family to know what you're doing. But during this process, you're going to become independent. We're going to help you get your promotion. During this time, you're also working on your licensing. So all at the same time, we're all working on all these goals.
Right. Not just trying to write apps and make some money. That's the downfall, is that, sure, go write apps and make money. But as you're writing policies and you're making money and you're recruiting, you should be focused on, I also want Ronnie to know how to do what I'm doing by the time these 14 days are over. And so in doing so, that doesn't happen. That space in Ronnie's mind doesn't exist unless you tell Ronnie up front. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, we're going to go run all these appointments. We're going to write some apps. We're going to get some money. We're going to work towards your promotion. We're going to help some people. But as we're sitting on the appointments, I don't want you just to sit there. Sit there daydreaming. Like, you're not taking any notes. Every single thing I'm drawing on the paper, you should be drawing. So you got to create that space in her head, not necessarily tangibly, but in her head, which is, I'm telling her from day one, before we start the very first appointment, in 14 days, I want you to know how to do what I do.
And so when I'm sitting there as a trainee, instead of sitting there just kind of observing, just as, a non-vocal participant in the whole thing, instead of just sitting there feeling like he's trying to sell my friends and my family products, I'm sitting there, I'm paying attention to the questions he's asking. Like he said, I'm also, writing down what he's writing down, practicing, drilling, rehearsing. I'm getting that practice in. I'm actively learning the information as he's going through it with my friends and family. That way I'm absorbing the information as fast as possible. I'm actually learning.
Yeah, there's been so many times in my career where you have a trainee that's kind of a pain in the butt, mm-hmm. and you're on the appointment. We're running the appointment. It's like appointment number 5 or 6 for them. So they start to think they know what they're doing, mm-hmm. right? So I look over and they're not taking notes. Like, they don't take notes anymore. They're just kind of staring at me. Or you get the trainee who starts talking a lot during your appointment. And my favorite thing to do in these scenarios is to go, hey, you know what, Ronnie? I noticed you're not taking notes. Why don't we switch spots? Let's switch seats. Let's have you run the appointment. Or, hey, you know what, Ronnie? I can tell you have a lot to say because you're learning. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pass this to you. You're going to take over from here, and I'm going to take notes. So I could give you some feedback. But my point in telling you this is, if you're telling the trainee up front, I want you to get independent. I want you to know what you're doing. I want you to take notes. I want you to pay attention. It's a real rude awakening for them if either, number one, you pass them the ball and they know nothing, or they start talking a lot because they start to learn. They stop paying attention. They stop taking notes, and it's a wake-up call. But here's the thing. None of that happens if you just recruit and you just start running appointments. You don't tell her up front what to even expect. So what should they be doing on the appointment? Because most of the learning is on the appointments. The learning is in the doing. So if we're on appointments, Ronnie, what should the trainee be doing, or what should I be doing as a trainer to start building and developing these skills in my new agents over the 14-day period?
So what we tell our trainees is like, hey, so this is how it's going to go. This is your very first appointment. So now for maybe your first 1 to 3 appointments, I'm going to run all of it or the majority of it. So from start to finish, I'm going to run the whole thing. So what I want you to do is I want you to write down everything that I'm writing down. Okay, I want you to write down the questions I ask. If I do a drawing, I want you to also do the drawing. So every single thing I'm doing, I want you to be doing on your notepad, right, with your pen and pencil, whatever you got, and learning the presentation. Your whole goal is to learn the presentation. Now on appointment number 2 or appointment number 3, I'm going to start passing off sections to you. So I'm going to start it off and then maybe have you do, the compound interest, right? I'm going to have you explain that to your client. And then slowly as we go on appointment number 2 and appointment number 3, you're going to start taking on more of the presentation until by the end of appointment number 10, you're doing the whole thing by yourself. And I'm just sitting there and taking notes and giving you feedback afterwards. And that way they know, okay, so I have to be ready within 1 to 3 appointments to start taking control of the appointment.
Nice. Nice.
And that way they're ready, they're alert, they're not daydreaming because they almost feel like, oh, I'm going to have a pop quiz soon.
Yeah.
Right? That mentality. A lot of us had, braces growing up, right? Or we go to the dentist, hopefully. And so me going and having braces, when they took them off, my orthodontist would say, hey, like, I want you to come back, every 2 months, every 3 months. And eventually I was like, why do I need to keep coming back? My teeth are straight. He said, because if you know that you're going to see me, you'll wear your retainer like you're supposed to. But if I say, oh, come back in a year, you're not going to see me for a whole 12 months, so you'll stop doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
It's the same concept. It's that accountability, knowing like, hey, in an appointment or 2 appointments, I'm going to be asked to do something, so I have to be ready.
Yep. That's awesome. Very good. And I remember a lot of those moments where my trainees looked bored, and I'm like, all right, this dude's bored. We're about to change that. Hey, Sergio, here's what we're going to do, actually. You look kind of bored. And so you and I are going to switch spots. I haven't eaten lunch, so I'll be back in about 30 minutes. I'm going to go eat while you finish this appointment. And I just get up and walk out. I literally done that to Sergio before. And Sergio now is our top guy. And that literally happened on an appointment. Mm-hmm. Where I look over and Sergio's just like, I'm like, well, you've seen this too many times already. Okay.
You're bored.
Cool. Well, I'm hungry and you're bored, so you're going to take over and I'm going to leave. I'll be back. Mm-hmm. And I've done that a million times.
And how does that work out?
Well, we still close because we're going to close. I'm going to make sure we close one way or another. But I'll tell you what happens when you do that once. They start paying attention.
Yeah.
The next appointment, they're not daydreaming. They're going to pretend like they're taking notes just so you don't throw the appointment in their lap.
Got it.
But there's a couple things you got to teach them. It's not just the presentation. I want to give you 3 things that are important. Number 1, you got to teach them how to think. Mm. I think you actually got to teach them how to think before you teach them how to run a presentation. How to not quit, how to handle rejection, what to expect. I think those are really, really, really important because people that know how to run a presentation quit all the time. But people that know how to think in the business as an entrepreneur, they don't quit.
And how do you teach them that stuff? Like, how do you teach them how not to quit or to handle rejection? Like the mentalities that you're speaking of.
Well, number 1, we did a whole episode on that, on how to not quit. And it's telling them that this isn't one of those things that you're going to get wealthy overnight. That's not necessarily how this works. This is a career. But it's a career that once you develop these skills, these are skills that will make you a lot of money. These are skills that will give you a great life. These are skills that will take care of your family. And so teaching them how to think, how to not quit is the fact that you're not in business for today. You're in business for later on. It's not rejection. It's a filter. Mm-hmm. Some people are going to say yes. Some people are going to say no. Some will say yes. Some will say no. It's just part of the game. Who cares?
Yeah. And one thing that I love that, we always, preach on is like, hey, let's say their client or their family member, brother, sister, mom, uncle, aunt, they say something, they text, the new trainee, like, hey, something negative, right? Or they want to cancel their policy, something on the client side, whatever, the situation may be, the challenge, it's you work with them together on how they should think about it, how they should process it, and how to respond to it.
Yeah.
So not only do they know, okay, when somebody says something like this, I should react like this, right?
Yep.
And then I should respond like that.
And you manage your expectations. You tell them up front it's going to happen. Hey, of course they're going to be negative.
Yeah.
They're negative everywhere. Their bank account's negative. Their
Right.
life's negative. They always talk negative. Like, what do you expect? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you got to let negative people be negative by themselves.
Yeah.
But it's just telling them up front, So when it happens, they go, "Oh, yeah, I knew that was going to happen."
Mm-hmm.
They actually told me you were going to say that. If you plant the seed first, then it's not a surprise. Versus them coming in thinking everyone's going to say yes, everything's going to be easy, everything's going to be perfect. You manage expectations. You tell them up front, this is probably how this is going to go. Mm-hmm. I tell them, hey, everyone's going to say no. Everyone's going to tell you no. Everyone's going to tell you suck. They want nothing to do with it. Doesn't matter, though. That's how we learn. That's part of the training.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only issues come, up when their expectation doesn't meet the reality that's being presented to them. And so if you're telling them, hey, these are the obstacles that you're going to have to face, but it's going to be worth it. Yeah. And you map that out for them when they get there, they're like, oh, he said this was going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah,
so you
totally
teach them how to think.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could teach them how to think, that's the first step to building someone who could close on their own.
Yeah.
Because when all the crap hits them, they know how to process it, and it doesn't take them out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It only takes them out of the game if it happens and they don't know how to think, because you didn't tell them. You were too busy trying to write a policy.
Right.
Versus doing the retention stuff, which is working on their head before you just work on their appointment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most people struggle in life not because they don't know how to execute a skill. It's because they don't know how to execute with their brain.
Right.
You know, their emotions get in the way. So that's number one, teaching them how to think. Number two is teaching them the system.
Yeah, and the system is the most valuable part of our business.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can come with no background, no resources, and really start from nothing and build yourself a business because of the system.
Right.
So for them to know the system, number one, but also have the belief behind the business and the system, is so important. And that's something you start teaching them from day one.
Yes.
Right? Because you're running them through the system. So if you're telling them, hey, this is all part of the system, like you're at X point in the system right now.
Right.
And showing them a proven track record of how that's happening. And let's say maybe it's not working out well for them. So then you show them other people in the office who it's working for and saying, hey, like if you just run the system, it'll work. If you just run the system,
Correct.
it'll work. But they have to be learning it versus them just like blindly trusting you to, give them some success. They need to know what the system is and how it works.
Yeah, if they understand it, then they get it. And they have to get it, right? So them getting it is they understand that, hey, the system is a series of filters. Mm-hmm. It's a filter. I ran an interview with a guy today, and he said, well, what separates you from, and he mentioned another company that sells toilet paper and all this nonsense, which is popular right now. Well, everyone's fighting over
Right,
toilet
you need
paper.
it right now.
So, and this other company, it's a great company. He was talking. He's actively involved with Amway. It's a great company.
Yeah.
But he said, well, what separates you from Amway? And I'm like, Amway's a great company, but you're asking me right now what's the difference between a Bentley and a Hyundai? Like, bro, we're not even in the same realm. It's not even the same industry. Mm-hmm. So when I'm looking at it, I'm like, Amway's fantastic, bro. But what you got to understand is our system is powerful. Our system is a series of filters. We don't get paid to recruit. I'm not going to get paid anything by you starting with us if this is a good fit. But what you have to understand is if I can make you successful, that'll pay me forever. Just like if I recruited Kobe to the Lakers, that cost me money. But if Kobe could get us some championships, it makes us money. So what I was trying to explain to him was I said there's a series of filters. Like, for example, you got online for our BPM, for our business presentation meeting. That was a filter. Mm-hmm. You turned on your thing and you listened. That was a filter. When it ended, we called you and you answered. That was a filter. You booked a follow-up. That was a filter. You showed up today. That was a filter. Now, right now, we're filtering you in or we're filtering you out. Right? And you walk them through that and they start to understand that nothing is rejection. Nothing is negative. It's just part of the process. And that's part of the system and that's part of the filters. And once you could teach them how to think and understand the system, now you have someone that could see farther out than next week. And they could start to see what a future looks like in our industry.
Yep.
And then number 3 is what?
Number 3 is
how to close.
Teaching them how to close. Yeah, they need to learn how to get results is really what that means.
Yeah, without you.
Yeah, without you. And so that is, the purpose of going on these training appointments is like, hey, you don't have to be the most charismatic person, right? Like people just instantly like you, or the most bubbly person. You just have to learn the system and you can close. Learn the questions that I ask, learn...
Right.
Learn the information that I present. And if you do it the same way, at least, system-wise, not necessarily personality-wise, it's not personality-driven, then you can get results too.
Because what she's saying is that the words and the order of which you say them is a system.
Yeah.
And that's what closing is. Closing's not personality-driven. It's system-driven. Mm-hmm. Now, there's a lot of people that are natural,
right,
God-given, just... the gift
they
of
can
words.
say anything,
Right.
And you'll think they're amazing and funny and you like them and whatever they're selling, you'll buy it.
Right. But if you could take that and systemize it, now you could build closers, which is that everyone just learns how to say this group of words in this order at this time of the presentation. And now you could take you and create 100 of you. And that's the beauty behind the business. You know, that's the beauty behind, like we have a 1,000,000 base shop for 3 years in a row now. That we're not writing 1,000,000 points ourselves. But what we've done is we've systemized the ability to close, which is, hey, now you know how to close, you know how to close, you know how to close. And you teach them that. And now you start having apps that come in because everyone on your team wants to close. They want to be able to do it without you. They don't want to have to fight with your calendar, their calendar, and the client's calendar. They want to be able to go, man, dude, like I guarantee you guys, the people on your team that have been there at least for a little while, they're sitting there going, gosh, if I could just do this shit myself. Like, man, I wish I could just like take my cousin to Starbucks and show her the freaking IUL illustration and submit an app and make money. And then I don't have to split my commission. And I could do it on my own. Like, man, my life could be so free the day I could do this by myself. But that doesn't necessarily happen if, number one, you didn't put that thought in their head 14 days ago. And number two, you didn't teach them how to think and have them run part of the presentation. And you didn't teach them the system. And you didn't teach them how to close. You just closed.
Right.
But they just watched you close and they're like, woohoo, I got an app. And them doing it never crossed their mind because you didn't put it there from the beginning.
Exactly. It's all part of the process from the beginning to the end. It's all part of the process, and it shouldn't take out any more time than it is taking you to just run those appointments.
Exactly.
You know,
that's a good point.
Yeah, because some people, they're like, all right, they run these appointments, and then when the person's like says to them, oh, hey, you know what? I actually think I want to start running appointments by myself. Can you teach me? And then you start to, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't. And then you're going, well, I have to run all these appointments. I have to follow up with my team. I have all these things to do. Now, how am I going to, separate some time to sit with them and drill this appointment, over and over again so that they get it? This is a all-encompassing system.
And you don't have to sit there and drill the appointment. You shouldn't have to sit across the desk with your team and go, all right, let me see your appointment. Practice the Rule 72. If you took them on any appointments, like you're saying, it should have all been being done already.
Yeah.
She said it shouldn't take any additional time from what you're already doing because it should be what you're already doing.
Yeah, exactly.
You could either run the appointments or you could run and teach at the same time, right? But all it is just creating that space. Like it's flipping the switch in their head where they go, okay, now I'm not just sitting here. Now I'm actually supposed to watch and learn and memorize. So that's very, very good. So on the appointments, have them do parts of it, have them take ownership of it, and then teach them those 3 skills, right? Which is how to think, the system, and how to close.
Yep, exactly.
And then next is what? This is the cool part, the fun stuff.
Yeah, this is where you encourage somebody, where you really where you build, I feel like where you build that relationship, right? So where you're encouraging somebody along the way, because during this time, where they're doing parts of the presentation, they're slowly learning how to do the whole thing. They may be getting some rejection here or there, some cancellations. So if you just kind of let, the chips fall where they may, some people, obviously are going to take it a little personal, especially since the people you're running these appointments with are most likely their friends and their family, right?
Right.
So what are the things that you're doing during this time to kind of help them push through?
So there's 3 things, 3 3-letter acronyms.
Yes.
CPC, EPR, and CPR. CPC, EPR, CPR. Okay, so CPC stands for constant personal communication, which means every day we're constantly in communication.
And how do you do that?
We're talking via our group me's or our WeChats. We're talking via text. We're talking via social media. We're FaceTiming each other. We're just constantly talking. Constantly in communication. Why? Because if not, then they're going to go just be constantly in communication with someone else who's going to tell them how they're never going to make it and they're going to quit. So I'm constantly putting good things into their head, constantly in touch with them. touching bases. EPR stands for encourage, praise, and recognize, which means I'm constantly cheering them on. I'm constantly telling, man, Ronnie, you're going to be great at this because everybody loves you. You're going to be great at this because you learn fast. You're going to be great at this because you're competitive. You're going to be great at this because you're genuine. You're going to be great at this because you really care about people. You're going to be great at this because you freaking deserve it. So I'm constantly reminding them why they belong here and why they're going to win. And then CPR is exactly what it sounds like. Is sometimes you got to resuscitate people.
Yeah, sometimes people take themselves out.
You got to bring them back to life. Like, hey, Ronnie, what do you mean? Come on, why'd you start?
Right.
Hey, you started because I thought you wanted to take care of your family. I thought you wanted to be the first one in your family to have some financial success. Hey, I thought you wanted a great career. I thought you wanted to leave your damn job. Like, what are you talking about? Come on, you could do this. I believe in you. Let's go. Let's get back up. Let's keep on moving. Let's make another list. Let's go grab lunch. Let's talk about your business plan and your future. So it's bringing them back to life. Sometimes you got to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to CPR some people.
Yeah, and let me tell you a couple of things. Number one, all this has to be genuine. It 100% has to be genuine because people can tell when you're just making crap up, right? People can 100% tell when you're not being genuine, when you're being fake. So if you're just hyping somebody up for the sake of hyping somebody up and you're just like, you're a champion, you're such a stud, but there's no...
They're like, what do you mean? I'm a loser.
Right? Yeah, it's just generic. So you need to learn and practice looking for the good in people and looking at people's strengths. The faster you can recognize somebody's strengths, the better you'll be at all of this.
Yeah.
Within a couple of conversations, you can tell like, wow, you know what? You're going to be amazing in business because you give off such a trusting energy. People will automatically trust you because people can tell that you care about them. Sometimes you get that feeling about some people are very bubbly, and you just feel good around them. So tell them that.
Yeah.
They might not know that. Tell them like, hey, when I'm around you, you automatically lift my energy, my mood up.
And different cultures, by the way, receive this differently.
Yes. Yeah.
Like we've had a lot of experiences where like we've got young people on the team that are in their early 20s and they grow up in a very traditional Chinese home. And I've had them, they've told us like, man, I grew up with a tiger mom. Like she just was like, like, so when we start telling him, come on, dude, you're a champ. He's like, this dude's just trying to like talk me up. Like he's just trying to talk me up because it's not something they're used to. So remember that different upbringings, different cultures respond differently to that. So you got to remind people it's genuine. Hey man, I freaking believe in you. Like you could do this. Sometimes, hey, what up, champ? Like you mentioned, like they're like, okay, here we go. Everyone's freaking champ in WFG. Like everyone's champ. Everyone's a stud.
Yeah.
But this stuff's important, you guys. This is the stuff that builds people. Some people don't have the confidence where they believe in themselves, so they need someone else to do it for them.
Yeah, and this is your opportunity to show them how much you care about them, and how much you're rooting for them.
Yep.
So don't take it for granted, and don't forget,
Yeah, don't forget. Don't forget that sometimes people do something that they don't normally do. Like you got a guy on your team that's terrified of prospecting, and one day he gets 10 seconds of courage and he prospects, and then he posts about it on his group me, and then you just look right past it. And that was your one chance to be like, dude, that's freaking awesome, and like to really make a big deal out of it, and you just looked over it, and he'll never do it again. Because some people, that encouragement, that recognition is what they work for. They don't work for the money.
Yeah. So basically, to piggyback on what he's saying, you cannot EPR, everybody the same.
Right.
So he's saying, if they've got one prospect, they never prospect ever, and you make a big deal about it, great. That's going to be received really, really well because they're going to be like, yes, like I did it. I conquered my fear. But if we gave, that same praise to somebody on our team like Elias, who, gets like 10 directs a month, and we're like, yeah, you got 1 direct this month. That's amazing. He is not going to receive that well.
He's going to be like, what the hell?
He's going to be like, what the hell? Like, this is like the worst month I've ever had, And it's just, it's going to do more harm than it is going to do good in that situation. So you have to tailor it to who you're talking to. It has to make sense, because in his head, if we say that to him after one direct, he's going to be like, this is terrible. Like, he's going to discard it very, very quickly. And he's going to start questioning our judgment as, leaders. Like, what do you mean? This is the worst I've ever done ever.
You got to meet people where they're at.
Yeah, exactly.
One dude's fired up because he got in the game. One dude's fired up because he made the team. One dude's fired up because he got to be the water boy, and one dude's fired up if he gets MVP. So you got to meet them where they are. The last thing, which really goes with that, and then I think we're done. I think we've done a good job on this topic, is you got to challenge people.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Every conversation should end with a challenge in some way. Now, I don't mean like you badger them on every conversation that you have with them 6 times a day. Yeah. You're like, no, I challenge you to go out and do, 30 directs this month. We don't mean that. We mean by like, hey, give them a little push in a direction that they were already hoping to go. Yep.
It's pushing them. It's a call to action.
Yes.
Like, all right, hey, champ, great job. Okay, hey, cool, you rock. All right, I'll talk to you later. Like, that didn't do it. But if you're like, hey, bro, awesome freaking job. Keep it up. Let's get after it. I want to see you get 4 or 5 guests on the next meeting. Yeah. Like, it's some sort of a challenge. It's a call to action. I talked to them. I lifted them up. I encouraged them. And then I pushed them. But everyone gets challenged different. Just like the same thing. Meet them where they're at.
Exactly.
But know what you're working with. Know how they respond. Different people respond better to different things. Yeah. If I talk to, like, for example, my sister, and I say, yo, I just talked to so-and-so. They're on their way to MD. They have 7 guests confirmed for tonight and blah, 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 blah. She's going to be like, freaking, like, that'll piss her off.
That'll motivate her.
But if I talk to other people, I'm like, hey, man, I just talked to Sergio. And they're just like, I don't give a shit about Sergio. Yeah. Screw Sergio.
It's going to rub them the wrong way.
Which, by the way, then I go tell Sergio, hey, so-and-so said they don't give a shit and screw you. And he's like, all right, I'll show them. You know what I mean? So here's my point. Everyone responds to things differently. You can't motivate everyone the same. Mm-hmm. Just like we don't have kids, but people say all the time, not every kid you raise the same. Like, they don't all respond to the same stuff. And so you got to challenge them, but you got to challenge them in a tailor-made challenge that fits their personality and the way that they respond to things, which you should know by now if you're at this point with your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Push them. The worst thing you could ever do is not challenge the right person.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, man. I thank God every day that when Elias joined our team, that I told him, hey, 25-25, because he went out and he had 30 recruits and 30 apps in his first 30 days. But what if I would have been like, well, the 1,100 freaking people before this didn't do shit. So, Elias, do you think you could do 3-3? Like, well, man, I would have totally, like, he probably would. I'm sure he would have done more than that. And he may have still done 30. But can you imagine, though, if I was just burnt out because no one ever did what they told me they were going to do, so I didn't challenge him? Like, that guy made me better because he came in and he showed me that the right person's going to do it, And so the worst thing you could do is not challenge the right person.
Absolutely.
And you can never do harm by challenging the wrong person.
No. Mm-mm.
Boom. Hey, you guys, we appreciate you. We appreciate all your support, your feedback, encouragement, your feedback, all that stuff. We're going to put that Zoom call together. We'll reach out to those of you guys that gave us your Instagrams and things like that.
Expect a direct message.
Expect a direct message, yes. And share, spread the word, We always tell you, spread the word. We love to see people winning. We love to see people winning. I love WFG. I love what the business has done for us. We don't take it for granted. And we want everyone to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
And take over and kick some butt. So appreciate you guys. We'll chat with you soon. We're out.
Yes. All right. Love you guys. Bye.